Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Democratic challenger Beto O'Rourke facing off tonight in their first and likely only debate. Excuse me. I haven't coughed all day.
It's been 18 weeks since their kids have been killed, and not a thing has changed in this state to make it any less likely that any other child will meet the same fate. All we need is action, and the only person standing in our way is the governor of the state of Texas.
Well, joining me now, and of course my voice is leaving, CNN commentators Maria Cardona and Alice Stewart. You know what? Let's go to a quick break, ladies. Oh, wait, there it came back. How wonderful. Thank you, voice. I'm only on live television on Friday night. Alice, to you first, while my voice recovers. Abbott doesn't want to raise the age to buy assault-style rifles, and he is against red flag laws. So I want to know how this is going to sit with voters. What do you think?
Well, first off, bless your heart and get your voice back in order. Look, here's the key thing that we saw in this debate tonight is that Governor Abbott was very strong on an issue that is of top concern for people in Texas, and that is taking steps to reduce gun violence. And he did so by continuing to support law enforcement and work on ways that we can curb gun violence. And he focused specifically on making sure that we address the mental health component of this and looking at how that is a factor in this. But he also, with his experience as a former attorney general, he understands the legal issues and the legal consequences of taking too strong measures with regard to access to guns. So he's taking that into consideration. But one of the things that I noticed tonight is the reason why we see Governor Abbott with the Real Clear Politics average of +8 is because he was able to tout his successes as governor with regard to top job creation, strong on education, top tier research, and he wants to continue his efforts to work to secure the border and continue to bring jobs back to the state of Texas.
And yet, Maria, you got to think to yourself, I mean, gun violence, top of mind. This is where Uvalde took place. I mean, just to think about that and the idea of this being very much fresh on the minds. What is your take? Because he first, remember, Abbott was first praised. He first praised the response and said it could have been worse. And then he said he was misled. And tonight, O'Rourke said Abbott should be held responsible for the officers that failed to properly respond to the shooting. I'm wondering, will Texans see it the same way?
I think right now Texans will agree with Beto that Abbott was a complete failure, not just tonight, but on the issue of gun violence and on so many others, Laura, but specifically on this. It's not just the massacre in Uvalde. It was the massacre in El Paso. It is the massive killings that are going on. In fact, just 3 days ago, 2 migrants were killed by former wardens of corrections facilities. And Greg Abbott refuses to do anything about it. During the debate, they showed a 10-year-old girl begging Abbott to raise the age limit where people could obtain assault rifles, and he has refused to do so. What I heard tonight on gun violence and on so many other issues, Laura, was platitudes, failure, excuses to do absolutely nothing. And the people of Texas are listening. The Latino community that has been absolutely hurt, many of them killed because of Abbott's reckless rhetoric and actions, they are going to hold him accountable in November.
And yet right now, Governor Abbott was trying to call and hold O'Rourke accountable on a position on the issue of abortion. I mean, he called it the most extreme. He falsely claimed that he wants to allow abortions until birth. I want you both to listen to see how Beto O'Rourke responded to that.
I never said that, and no one thinks that in the state of Texas. He's saying this because he signed the most extreme abortion ban in America. No exception for rape, no exception for incest. It begins at conception, and it's taking place in a state that is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis, thanks to Greg Abbott, 3 times as deadly for black women. I will fight to make sure that every woman makes her own decisions about her own body, her own future, and her own health care.
I want you to weigh in a second, Alice. But Maria, I mean, O'Rourke is saying essentially this election is about reproductive freedom. We saw what happened in places like Kansas just this past summer. Is O'Rourke right?
He's absolutely right, Laura. We are seeing it. in state after state after state, massive mobilization, massive registration to go vote of young women, Black women, Latino women, suburban independent Republican women who understand that this right that women had enjoyed for 50 years, no one has any right to take that away from us. And so Beto rightly put this within the field of Greg Abbott taking away privacy, taking away freedom, taking away liberties, taking away our ability to decide our own reproductive futures. And when you look at the diverse communities in Texas, reproductive rights is right under that column of health care. Because if you are in a diverse community, the only place where you can go get health care are places like Planned Parenthood. And health care, by the way, is massively within the realm of reproductive rights. And so you combine those two, and it shows you just how much Greg Abbott has no clue the right that he has taken away from women in the one of the most egregious laws in the country. It's going to hurt him politically. Beto is absolutely right that this is going to be a huge focus for the election.
I want to let Alice jump in here because it's 4:30 in the morning in Oslo, Norway, and she's shaking her head. I want to give her a chance to come on in. So what's your reaction, Alice?
Bless my dear friend Maria and advocating for this issue. But one thing is crystal clear. I wish we could play a clip where Beto was asked his response to what limits he would put on abortion. He didn't answer that question. He didn't say what limits should be put on this issue. And that's a key component. That's a question the people of Texas want answered. And as for abortion and how this weighs and impacts voters in Texas, look, the key issues for voters, and poll after poll in Texas has showed this. Number one is border. Number two is the economy. And they trust Greg Abbott to address those issues better than they do Beto O'Rourke. Abortion comes in at third and then followed by crime. And they look at Beto as someone who will address that issue more to their liking. But look, you cannot dispute Beto's passion for this job. His policies are just not in line with the people of Texas. And when we're looking at issues that are critical and top of mind for voters, what we heard in this debate tonight was being strong on the border, securing the border, and the experience that Greg Abbott has done so far and wants to do moving forward. That's, I believe, the issue, along with the economy, that's going to continue to sway voters and get them out to the polls much more so than abortion.
I want to hear first. Hold on, I want to hear from on one other issue, though, because it's hard to think about Governor Abbott and this discussion without thinking about his policies towards immigration, which has been top of mind for so many. Right. And actually, let's hear from him because he was asked about Texas, their state-funded program to bus migrants to Democratic cities. Listen to this, ladies, and I'll have you respond to the other side, Maria.
Sure.
They needed relief, and busing was one of the ways of providing them relief, and thus began the process of busing the migrants to cities that self-identified as sanctuary cities.
Now, O'Rourke repeatedly called this a gimmick, but you got to admit, ladies, I mean, immigration is a particularly pressing issue. It's an emotional issue in Texas and beyond. I'm wondering, do you think, Maria, that the busing of the migrants, would that possibly work in Abbott's favor in a place like Texas?
I don't think it will, Laura, and it certainly is not going to work for Republicans nationally either, and I'll tell you why. When Greg Abbott puts migrants on buses, he is betraying just how much he hates people who come over here looking for a better life. These are not migrants that are coming here illegally. These are migrants that are coming here seeking asylum, availing themselves of something that is available to them under immigration law. When Greg Abbott treats these migrants like trash, he is telegraphing, he is signaling to the racists, the xenophobes that support those kinds of policies that it is okay to hurt migrants. That's why you saw 2 migrants being killed in the last couple of days. His rhetoric, his actions, Laura, betray not just complete and total disdain for migrants and hatred for migrants, but a complete ignorance of what immigration really is and the solutions that actually would come to bear that everyone wants, but that he has absolutely refused to come to the table to try to solve. And that's not just him. That's most Republicans who always say, secure the border, the border is open. The border is not open. The border needs securing. It also needs legal pathways. And Republicans completely refuse because they don't care and they don't understand the issue of immigration.
What's your last word, Alice? Go ahead.
Just real quickly, Greg Abbott also pointed out that Democratic mayors in El Paso and Democratic leaders in some cities in Texas have also done the exact same thing, busing migrants to other places. And there's no criticism from Beto O'Rourke about them. It's the same thing. But here's the thing: when you have people like Beto O'Rourke and our Vice President Kamala Harris, who believes that our border is secure, that's when we have a problem, because the border is not secure. And fortunately for people of Texas, Governor Abbott wants to do more to secure the border, but also to keep his state safe. And that's what he plans to continue to do.
That's not what he's doing.
No, I got to end it there for a moment. I wanted to make sure you had both a word in there. What's beautiful about this is I know the two of you are friends. And if we were in the green room, this conversation would go on. My voice would come back for about 15 minutes and then be gone again. Ladies, it's so nice to see both of you.
Thanks,
Laura. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Laura.